I'm Stephanie Kraft, and I'm going to talk to you about how babies choose their names before they're born. I don't actually know how they do it, but I do have some stories that show that sometimes I think that they do choose their names. So, the first story that I have about this is from when I was about 5 or 6 years old. This is my own personal story about how my son, I believe, chose his name. I didn't know it at the time when this event happened, but back when I was about 5 or 6 years old, I was at summer camp. And I think it's interesting for me at 42 years old to have this vivid memory of this moment in time. So there was a little girl sitting under a tree, and when I was that young, I was very shy. I rarely struck up a conversation with people I didn't know, and I didn't usually talk to people I didn't know. I was very shy. And so for me to go up to this little girl who was sitting under the tree was highly unusual, but I did. I went up to her and I asked her, "What's your name?" And she said, "Skylar." And in that moment, the whole world stopped. The violins started playing, the angels started singing. I thought it was the most magical name I had ever heard. And I even went home from camp that day and I told my mother, I said, "I met a little girl today and her name was Skylar. Can you believe it?" As if it were some amazing event. But in my mind it was. And I guess that stuck with me. And when I was pregnant with my son, I wrote down a list of names, just as ideas. And I looked them up. I looked up the meanings behind the names on my list. And the name Skylar turned out to be Dutch. I didn't know that. I didn't have any connection to Dutch names. There's no Dutch in my family. But I wrote down the definition of the name Skylar. And one of the meanings is scholar, and there were some other really amazing meanings of the name that really resonated with me, like love and wisdom and things like that. And I showed the list of names to my then husband, Skylar's father, and he didn't really react, except he did like the name Skylar and that it meant scholar. He thought that was cool and resonated with him, but it wasn't like that name was at the top of our list. And at our baby shower, he actually went around to all of my relatives and asked them what they thought of the name Skylar. I guess in his mind, he had been, considering that name, unbeknownst to me, because I thought that we had sort of moved on from that name and were considering some others. And yet, he came around to me at the end of that baby shower and he said, "Everybody loves the name Skylar," as if that was the name he chose, and he was just double checking with everybody. And I said, "Oh my goodness, that's wonderful, because that's the name that I love." And so I think that was kind of when it was set in stone. So I just think that it's interesting that I had this event. I call it an event because remember, the angels were singing and the violins were playing when I heard the name, and with the little girl sitting under the tree. It was very memorable. And so I believe that that moment was etched in my mind because it did have significance. It was literally my son giving me a shout out, like, "I'm coming," and you don't know it, but this moment is etched in your mind for my name, basically. So that's my own personal story, but I have a really interesting story about a couple that I taught hypnobirthing to many years ago. They told me an amazing story. So they had been doing the same thing, like all couples do, is kind of make lists of names that they like, and privately or separately, the man, the husband, and the wife both received in their mind the name separately. So basically, this was a name. I don't remember the specific name, but it was a name that had two names. It was like Eva Maria, for example, but a bit more rare than that. So two names that were not that common put together. And the wife came to the husband and said, I know the name of our baby. It came to me today. And the husband said, oh, me too. The name came to me today. And the wife said, Eva Maria. And the husband was like, oh my goodness, I got the same name. And so it was just, I mean, how can you deny that the soul of the baby was implementing this thought, I think, into the parent's mind. I've heard other amazing stories with names that babies have chosen for themselves. I don't remember all the details, so I'm not going to share them here, but that's just a little snippet of what I believe can happen. And I'll be making some more videos soon about some other topics related to pre-birth and other topics as well. So see you later.